Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you a 2012 team preview for the Carolina Panthers. We're going to start with their offense and see what we can expect the Panthers to look like this upcoming season.
Cam Newton had the most impressive rookie season for a quarterback in NFL history. It's funny because, remember, this was a guy that wasn't supposed to learn how to play quarterback until his 9th year in the league, wasn't supposed to be able to hit the broadside of a bar and passing the football, and wasn't supposed to be able to run as he did at Auburn in the pros because of all the elite talent and the speed of the NFL. He's proven everybody wrong except football game plan, obviously, but he's proven everybody wrong. This guy can play, and the Panthers have their quarterback of the future, their franchise quarterback that honestly they haven't had since Kerry Collins was drafted in '95. So the Panthers have to like the progression that he's going to make in year 2, giving him a full off season, giving him more weapons on offense and an improved offensive line. So in my opinion, all signs point to Cam Newton having another stellar campaign in 2012 for the Carolina Panthers. Armed with the best running back tandem in the NFL, the Panthers are able to run the football on practically anyone they face, and that helps out the entire offense. It helps with ball control, it helps keeping the defense fresh, and it helps open up the passing game as far as play action is concerned. So you look at this year, Stewart and D'Angelo Williams should have another outstanding campaign. And toss in free agent acquisition Mike Tolbert from the San Diego Chargers, a fullback that's going to help clear open holes for these two guys. But he can also excel in ace back and single back type of situations. So the Panthers will have a lot of depth in the backfield, and that will keep everybody fresh all season long. So look for the Panthers to be in the top 3 in the league as far as rushing is concerned. If there's one unit on the Carolina Panthers offense that has to make significant strides in year 2 of this new scheme, it has to be the receiving corps. Outside of the future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, Steve Smith, there are some question marks about the Carolina Panthers wide receivers. And you saw that last year during the passing game when Steve Smith was covered or couldn't get open. Cam Newton had problems going to other targets because they couldn't catch the football consistently. So that's why in the draft you go and get a guy like Joe Adams out of Arkansas, a slot guy that can help out this short to intermediate passing game with his quick speed and burst off the line of scrimmage. You also have to like the fact that they get David Geddes back. He was slated to be the starter last year before he got hurt in the preseason. And Brandon LaFell did come on late last year at the end of the season and develop that chemistry with Cam Newton. And you want to see these young guys continue to grow together. You look at the tight end position. Greg Olsen was a stud last year for Newton. They run a lot of 2 tight end sets. This year they lose Jeremy Shockey, but let's see if Gary Barnish can pick up the slack and be that solid number 2 that they need to continue to run the football and also dominate the middle of the field with the passing game. You just don't finish 7th in total offense, 3rd in rushing, and have your rookie quarterback have one of the best rookie seasons, the best rookie season in NFL history without having an outstanding offensive line. You look at Jordan Gross. This guy, 10 years in the league, it seems like it was just yesterday he was drafted. Ryan Khalil, one of the better centers in the league, does a great job of keeping command on an offensive line. And on the right side, you look at Jeff Otah, a very stout right tackle, does a great job of sealing the edge in the running game. And you look in the interior, I like their guards. Jeff Handgartner is another guy that came over from Buffalo, had a solid season, but I'm interested to see how well Amini Siotolu does, their 2nd round draft selection out of Midwestern State. Some gave this guy a 1st round grade. He's that type of talent. They may have solved their issues on the interior, and they round out some good depth players. Bruce Campbell coming from the Raiders. I'm interested to see how well he does. And I'm a big fan of Lee Zimba, play with Cam Newton at Auburn. I think the Panthers' offensive line will continue to be one of the more consistent and one of the more better offensive lines in the league. The defensive line of the Carolina Panthers poses another question mark about this team as a whole. We know Charles Johnson can get to the quarterback with ease and can also stop the run, but they need someone opposite of him to bring the pressure. Now, what they do get back on the interior, they get back big nose tackle Ron Edwards, 6'3", 315 pounds, 12th year out of Texas A&M. They missed him all of last year, and the reason why it's important that he comes back, he can command a double team and free up more one-on-one opportunities for those outside pass rushers. Now, Greg Hardy is another guy that had a solid year last year, only 4 sacks. That has to get up into the 8 and 9 type of sack range. If so, then this Panthers defensive line will see a lot of growth. Now, they do have depth. That was a benefit of those guys, those young guys playing early, guys like Sion Fawa, and also you look at the tackle Terrell McClain out of South Florida. They need someone again, to step up and be that outside edge rusher. They drafted Frank Alexander. If he can come in and bring to the table what he did at Oklahoma, then they'll be fine. I would say the linebacking core of the Carolina Panthers would be a strength of this defense. You look at what they have on the table already. James Anderson had a very good year last year, did a lot of things very well for the Panthers, took on a leadership role after the loss of Beeson and also Thomas Davis. And speaking of Beeson, he comes back to the defense and he's probably going to be on the outside. And I think personally he's better suited for the outside, brings a lot of speed and also can tackle very well. But all eyes will be on Luke Kuechly, the rookie linebacker out of Boston College. And I think he brings a lot of versatility to this Panthers linebacking core. This guy can cover tight ends, and you really need that in this division where you have to cover guys like Tony Gonzalez and Jimmy Graham. And he's also a very good tackler, plays downhill, and does a great job in coverage. So you get a linebacker that can probably play all three positions. So he may see him in the middle this year for the Panthers. You may see him as a Sam. But either way, the Panthers get a lot of versatility with one pick. And as much as I'm a Thomas Davis fan, he's coming back from 3 ACL injuries. So whatever they can get out of him this season, health-wise, would definitely be a bonus. There's two arguments you can have when looking at the Panthers secondary. You could be on the side of the argument that says this is a defensive secondary that gave up a lot of big plays and hurt this team down the stretch. Or you could be on the side of the argument that says, hey, these guys weren't helped out by their defensive line and did the best they could. I'm liable to stand right in the middle and say both sides are right because there's talent on his roster. Chris Gamble's a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit for the work he does out there in the secondary. Captain Mullen is always trying to get sandwiched and pigeonholed into a nickel or dime role. They bring back Brandon Hogan, a guy that was injured last year, big playmaker out of West Virginia. And you look at the safeties, Godfrey is a good guy, very good tackler, and a guy that is always in the right position. And Sherrod Martin is a guy that can play center field and also can help out in tackling. And they drafted a young rookie in Josh Norman out of Coastal Carolina. So incoming talent is there. The talent that's already on the roster is there. The secondary is all depending on the defensive line. If they can get pressure, then you will see how good this Panthers secondary is. If not, it'll be more of the same like it was last year. They have a bunch of young talent on offense. You have a young, outstanding quarterback. You have some young receivers that can grow with the quarterback. You have an outstanding running game. You have a very good offensive line. And defensively, you got healthy. So that's the real reason for optimism for the Carolina Panthers. This team was a good team last year, despite what their record says. You start a rookie quarterback and you go 6-10 with some defensive deficiencies and some holes on special teams. That's a pretty good year in my opinion, and you're only going to get better when the players that you count on get healthier. So there's a lot of optimism you can have right now in Carolina. I'm still trying to figure out how Orlando Mari is still a part of this Carolina Panthers organization. He must have pictures or something because he struggled mightily last year. He cost these guys a couple of ball games. They could have beaten the Vikings. They could have beaten the Falcons, and that probably could have gave them the momentum they needed to get into the playoffs. Special teams has to improve along with the defensive line. They have to find pass rush opposite of Charles Johnson. If Frank Alexander can be the guy, then this team can be vastly improved. I think the Panthers finished second in the NFC South and make the playoffs. I'm not one to believe that this was a bad football team last year. Their offensive line is outstanding. The running game is perfect. That's what you want out of two running backs back there in the backfield. Your quarterback is a threat, dual threat type of guy that puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses and it opens up everything on the offense. Now on the defensive side, they get back a lot of key playmakers. They're healthy, and this is year 2 in the scheme with the full offseason to work with. So I think all those signs point toward the Panthers challenging the Saints for the #1 spot and perhaps winning the #1 spot. But I think they finished second behind New Orleans. That offense over there is just too strong right now. But don't be surprised if the Panthers get into the playoffs and make a lot of noise this season.